Now, open the Esticated City Council meeting. If you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have roll call, Sadie?
Councillor Dunsmere.
Present.
Councillor Gates.
Here.
Councillor Hughes.
Here.
Councillor Lidkey.
Here.
Councillor Strobel.
Here.
Councillor Tenbush.
Here.
Mayor Drinkling.
Here. Thank you very much for that. We are at the first citizen and community group comment. Do I have any in the holding?
I do not see any hands raised. Oh, nope, we've got one. Shannon Stout. I'll bring
All
her.
right, great.
Hello.
Hello, Shannon. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Let me see here. I'm Shannon Stout. I am a member of the DEIC committee, and we would like to address the topic of invocations at the city council meetings with the following statement. The goal of the city council should be making governing inclusive to all citizens of Estacada. Therefore, in the interest of maintaining the separation of church and state, the DEIC would like to submit a recommendation to the City Council of Estacada to remove the invocation proceedings in the call to order. If, as the City Council, you vote to keep the invocation, the DEIC would like to assist in creating a more inclusive opportunity to provide the invocation. And that's the statement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
All right. Do I have anybody else in the holding? See?
I am not seeing any other hands.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, moving right along, we are at the consent agenda. You've all had a chance to read it over. Can I have a motion in play?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we are now at department and committee reports. First off, I have Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Mendoza, he is here. I saw him on the screen. All right. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you.
So just quickly looking at, you should have the slides for the activity for December. There wasn't anything that really jumped out at me during December, except I did notice if you look at slide number 3, you'll see that this December actually was our lowest call load of the year, which is always a good thing. So calls were down, but obviously deputies were still out there doing some self-initiated work. Just overall, it wasn't significant, but it was definitely the lowest month of the year. And then looking forward to this next year, at the Sheriff's Office, we are just about to go through our bump process where we're choosing schedules, and the city of Estacada will see an increase of 0.25 or 1/4 FTE. That will happen come March. And we're working to, if we left the schedules the way they were, we would have 1 day of overlap. So we're working to finalize the details on expanding the hours of service, which will just give us better coverage throughout the week for the city of Estacada.
Any questions from Mendoza? Katie?
Hi there. Just first of all, I want to say thank you for everything you do for our community. Second, I also want to point out that on the the reports that we've been receiving, we've got a comparison between 2020 and 2021, which I am just loving, especially seeing all the statistics where pretty much everything is down between last year and this year is just amazing to see. The one thing I wanted to bring up is, it's going to sound like a dead horse, but back in 2020, we did have a listening session as a city, and we've had people express to us that they felt that the CCSO was somehow targeting people based on race. And in response to that, we did ask the CCSO to start including what were assumed racial profiles of the demographics of people that were deputy initiated contacts, as a way of us sort of helping oversee those concerns that the community members had brought up in 2020. That being said, I have yet to see any of those those types of statistics on these reports. And so I don't know if it's possible for you to just send a message to the office that sends us these reports or anything like that. Just again, reminding that we are really interested in seeing the demographics of people who are specifically being contacted by a deputy initiated contact. So that was really the only request that I have. And that was again based on citizen feedback that we received back in 2020. So other than that, I'm really happy to see where the crime statistics are at today as compared to last year. And thank you for everything that your office does.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just interject that we should be able to provide that fairly quickly. As you know, the sheriff's office is one of the larger agencies in the state, and so we're required to keep that data. We're one of the first agencies that had to implement the tracking of that data. So we should be able to track that down and provide it with these.
And Chief, we I know you're new to us, but in those quarterly meetings that we have, they have been discussing that between all of the contract cities and how they're I think they're working on a report. Wilsonville wanted much more material, and so you might just check with that, see where that's headed, and maybe we can hear that. I think we have a meeting next week.
I think it is next week. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe we could talk about that then and see where they are with that.
Sure.
Okay, Joel, you have something?
One of the questions I'd like to see if we can get on the reports as well. I've had a lot of questions, and I think most counselors have heard this too, is how many of these calls are actually where it's a vehicle has gone out to respond to the call versus simply getting a phone call. So for example, someone calls in, reports a report. So I've had people ask me about why they're only getting a phone call back for the report versus having a deputy come out. And I kind of want to see, the stats of how many deputies are actually going on scene versus phone call reports. And so we can see kind of where that's at and kind of track it over time. And so our citizens can see if that's, if their thoughts are that there's more deputies aren't showing up is basically what I keep hearing. And I just want to be able to show them in the stats that that's not true, that the deputies are out there doing the job and working and stuff. And so if you could show those in there, that'd be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that we can narrow that down in person versus phone contacts. I will, like a footnote on that, I will say that like most with, we're taking extra precautions with the current COVID surge. And so if a deputy can handle a contact by phone, they're being asked to do so just to protect ourselves. We need to make sure that we keep our staffing up. So
maybe put a note in there with that too. So people, when they see the reports, they understand why there might be a higher surge in that at the time.
Yep.
So
yep, absolutely.
So
And some calls just warrant in-person contact, and some are just easier by phone, but we can definitely get a breakdown of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay. Any more questions for Mendoza? No? We thank you, sir. We appreciate the updates and everything that you've done. It's really looking good out there, and you're doing a great job. So thank you. You have something else, Joel?
Yeah, just this last minute thought. Is there anything you might be able to share what might have contributed to the lower reports this month? Anything that you may have seen a change in, maybe changing how our citizens are maybe locking more doors or something like that we can encourage them to keep doing?
That's a good question. I probably would want to dig into it a little bit more. I did know like some of the significant calls that were down were alarm calls. if I think it's slide number 4. Sorry, let me look through these real quick. I think it is slide number 4 that shows percentages of calls down. Like I said, the one that stood out was alarm calls. I think was almost 50%.
I think it's actually slide 5. So it's like
We could charge like Happy Valley does. They charge a lot for an alarm permit, and each time a alarm goes off, I think you get fines, or maybe you get one, but we don't do that out here.
It actually happens a lot all across the country with fines. If it's a false alarm or something, they're being where my wife, knowing what happens with my wife's work, there's a lot, and Justin will know this for sure. There's a lot of fines handed out for false alarm.
All right. Well,
so the difference. So we're looking at slide. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slide 7. In green under dispatched, it'll go over the difference where there's just a significant amount of calls that didn't even occur. Suspect contact, suicides or suicide threats, stolen vehicles, promiscuous shootings, noise complaints, hazards, criminal mischief, frauds were way down. And as comparison to December of last year, it's not a straight comparison of each month this year, which is where we saw the decline, but this is a comparison to December. So that shows a significant drop in calls between this December and last December. So that might show some of the differences there.
great. Thank you. Did that answer your question, Bill? Okay, great. We thank you again, and we appreciate all that and everything that you do. So thank you,
Yeah.
sir, and we'll let you go. So
Thank you for having me.
you. Okay, committee and commission, we have liaison reports. So does any of us have anything they'd like to say on their groups? If not, we'll go into the others. Oh, Charity, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, so school board of directors met about a week and a half ago. Grease the musical is set to perform at the high school. They're going to start Thursday night, 7 p.m. They'll run through the 29th. And I believe Saturday, the 29th is a 2 p.m. matinee. So go support our high school. Go watch the musical. I think it's going to be really awesome. I know the kids are very excited to be performing. And I believe I heard there's also some middle schoolers that are involved in this musical as well. So moving on to just some numbers. Let's see, the superintendent's report. There was some concern over the past couple of weeks with the rise in the new COVID variant and just people being sick with colds as well, that we might have to close down schools. And the superintendent at that time, again, this was 10 days ago, and I know our numbers have gotten better as people have gotten well. 8.3% was the average employee absentee rate for the day. So for our school district, it was looking really good that we were not going to have to close down schools. We were getting a lot of support. Other teachers were stepping in for other teachers, paraeducators, things like that. And so as of right now, there's no need to worry about schools closing down due to this new variant. What's next here? Conversations with the community as we come out of this pandemic. This is something that Superintendent Carpenter wanted the public to start thinking about as we're coming out of this, as he predicts that schools in the near future are going to be looking for going to be moving more toward a parent's choice sort of education. There's going to be an increase in charter schools, private schools, online schools, you name it. So they're trying to brainstorm with teachers and staff right now. They're going to be reaching out to the community soon to start getting the wheels turning, everybody thinking, how can we make Estacada a more favorable school compared to other schools, so on and so forth. Right now, a lot of people come in from other areas to attend Estacada School District, and I'll point out why here down the road, because we got some exciting news a couple of days ago. So I just ask the community to pay attention. If you have kids in the school district, look out for those emails regarding, Facebook Lives, where you can weigh in and offer your opinion on how we can move forward as a community to better our school district and look a little bit more, favorable, because we're doing really awesome so far. So we want to keep up that momentum. And so the really exciting news, an email went out, and if you don't have school age children, then you might not know this, but the graduation, so I wrote this down because I thought it was really cool. So our graduation rates, as this was last year, so at the height of the kids going back and everything, where it's just a big mess, the graduation rates were 87.29%, and this was the highest four-year graduation rate in the Estacada School District's 105-year history. So that's pretty incredible. And we were also 7 points higher than the state average. So that's awesome. This was definitely a team effort with teachers, parents, staff, community members, everyone stepping in last year, and they're continuing to do so this year. And it's really been an all hands on deck effort to make our school district, just really want to see these kids succeed and graduate on time. Some really great numbers that also came out of that. 89% of our Hispanic students graduated on time. That's a new record. 87% of our students experiencing poverty graduated on time. That's also a new record. And 79% of our students with disabilities graduated on time, which is also a new record. So that's something that our community can celebrate, not just the school district, but I think it's been a community effort, and that's very positive news. And that's all I have for our school district report.
Oh, some good news, Charity. Thank you. I'm just going to go on to the commissions, if that's okay, unless anybody else wants to speak on their groups that aren't being represented here. Okay, I'm going to go to Parks and Rec first. I think Brent's waiting by. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as the Park and Rec chairperson. I'll be very brief. We didn't meet actually the last couple months, and we're excited to meet just on Wednesday of this week. We have a new commission member, Vincent. I actually don't know his last, it's Baloma, I think is his last name. I think you guys obviously appointed him. He's taken the place of Chris Stanton. So we're looking forward to working with him. And our big discussion is going to be trying to do one more fundraiser to raise some money for phase 3 of the park, to take advantage of those matching funds that are available. So we're chewing on a few ideas, something on maybe on the first day of spring, some sort of run or some sort of doggy dash or something that we could get our community involved with, make some money, and then, as I understand it, the foundation will match that. So hopefully we can make that happen. That will be our main discussion item this week. So that's all I have. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Brent? No? We thank you, sir, for that. Oh, we got Charity here. Hold on just a minute.
I don't have a question, but I would definitely be up for a fun run or a doggy dash or something like that. I think that would be great.
Yeah, we had a great turnout, as you remember, for the trick or trot. And I thought we could build on that, maybe do something like that, and then maybe do a 2K and as well as a 5K, ending up at Wade Creek Park, and or a doggy dash. Yeah, so we'll talk that over. Hope we can make it happen, and appreciate your support.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. And we appreciate that information. All right, the next we have the Downtown Esticated Commission. Do I have Taylor? Are you here for them?
Yes, I am.
All right, great.
Well, I'll keep mine pretty short and sweet too. The DEC is in the beginning stages of planning the 4th of July parade. We're currently working on coming up with a theme for the parade. We're also working on the fall festival. We're going to be combining Uncorked and the Harvest Festival into one family-friendly fun event this year on Saturday, September 10th. We are also working on a passport project for some of the downtown businesses. We're hoping to have that finished by mid to late March. And then the city recently hired Elena Turpin to fill the role of Community Development Coordinator. Elena will provide staff support for the DEC and manage the Main Street program. She'll also be assisting with building permits and planning. Elena is she's getting up to speed with the work that the DEC is doing, and will be working with the owner of 355 South Broadway to apply for the Main Street Revitalization Grant, which is due in mid-March. This grant requires a lot of work on the part of the property owner, but it must be submitted by the city, which means city staff is very vested in the work. So the Broadway building, Mossy Rock, received this grant a couple of years ago. So that's pretty much what we got going on right now.
Well, we appreciate that. Any questions? But go ahead, Katie.
The 355 Broadway building, which one is that specifically?
So I own the boutique right next to the dance studio, and it's the one that's right next to my business. So it's where it used to be the flower shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so they're applying for the Main Street Grant Program this year?
Yes, they are.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And thank you, Taylor. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you.
So thank you. All right. Next, I have the library board. Who is speaking on that one?
We have Connie Redmond coming on.
All right, great.
I think. There she is.
All right. Connie, how are you?
Connie, you muted yourself instead of unmuting.
Okay,
Oh, there she is.
there we go. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, the library. You might remember that a few months ago, we applied for a grant and got it to get an outreach van. We have received the van. It's being rigged up right now for all the internal shelves and all that kind of stuff. The library is putting out a newsletter to library members, just giving them updates on what's going on. You know, we have the new amphitheater that's going in, and there's going to be a community building. We'll be discussing on the regulations and how we want to manage that. Let's see what else. We'll be working on the library budget pretty soon. And one of the things I always like to bring up is the great library staff that we have. During that road construction and all the bad weather, Michelle, Sarah, Deborah, Leslie, and a few other people, they just went out of their way to make sure that the community had access to the library and all the services. So we have a lot of things going on, just plodding along. Again, I want to thank Paul Strobel for coming to our meetings. We love to have that connection with City Council. And we hope you, well, another thing they're trying to do is get back to pre-pandemic operation, whether with the planning or with the outreach or with the hours. So Michelle and her staff are just doing a fabulous job on keeping the library going and meeting the needs of the community. So I want to thank them. And thank you, Paul. Any questions?
No. Any questions for Connie? We let her go? No, we thank you, Connie. You do a great job.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Okay, next on the list, I have the Arts Commission. So.
And we've got Chelsea here.
Chelsea, can you hear me there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, we sure can. Thank you.
Excellent. I actually have a really long update, but I'll try to make it quick.
All right.
I feel bad because everyone else was so speedy. So we had 4 open seats. So December was kind of nutty for us. We welcomed Nicole and Deborah back, and our new commissioners are Heidi Prokop and Tina Ruiz. That 2 of the folks that we lost were our treasurer and our secretary. So Nicole has stepped up to take over secretary duties, and Heidi is going to be working offline with Carrie to take over as treasurer. So that's been really great. Over the winter, we just had one small event, which was the snowflakes. Cut out, make it snow in Estacada. It didn't go that great. And so we've taken some notes on how to do something like that better next time around. We did have the activity sheets all over the place, but communication just wasn't as good as it could have been. So it only cost us the cost of copies. So it was a very affordable learning experience. What we've got in progress right now is we're working on an RFP for a 1% for art at the Overlook Park in the Reagan Hill Heights neighborhood. So we're just at the point where we are, we're looking for the best RFP template to use. That's where we are with that. Emily, One Page Wednesdays have started. So this is going to be a monthly reading series. 2 months each quarter will be at Harmony, and 1 month each quarter will be at the library, and that will be targeted to younger readers and writers. But One Page Wednesday is a open mic event. We bring in 2 featured writers from out of town who read a short piece, and then 10 local writers can fill in the open mic slots and read 1 page of whatever they've got. And so we had our first event 2 weeks ago. And it went pretty well, I think. There were a lot of sort of still COVID concerns, so the crowd wasn't that big, but we filled the room, and there was a lot of excitement, and I was really happy with how it went. Emily and I right now are working on a RAC grant to fund some of that for the rest of the year. We're scrambling to put that together. The other stuff in progress, we've purchased a rail hanging system for the library so that the materials are all here so that we can hang art and move shows in and out without damaging the walls. So that'll be a little quicker and more effective. The next step there is going to be install, and Nicole has taken over as a sort of social media liaison, and she says that the Facebook page has seen some growth and a lot more engagement, and she wanted to really give a shout out to Melanie for helping make that happen. But it's been good. The stuff coming up, spring coloring contest is in the works. World Collage Day event in May, and then in the summer, the 2 major events are going to be Art in the Park and an Art and Music Crawl. We'll also do the Chalk Walk. And what we've decided, and I think we've mentioned this before, but rather than one event over a day or 2 days, we're going to split those up throughout the summer so that we will have more smaller events, which will hopefully give a chance for more folks to participate. And we wanted to give a thanks to Jerry for not only coming to the meetings, but also coming to our events. We really appreciate the support.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jerry, for being there. We appreciate you, and that was a great talk about what's got going on in your area, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions for Paul? Go ahead.
Oh, just double checking here. Thanks for the update. When is the next One Page Wednesday?
It's going to be on February 9th, and it's going to be at Harmony. And then
Awesome.
in March, it'll be March 9th, and that'll be at the library.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Joel, did you have a question?
I was actually just looking at the Esticated Areas Arts page, and you had the 1 page set on your thing for the 12th. So I wasn't sure if that was a mistake on the scheduling of it. Just wanted to let you know from what I saw there.
It was January 12th.
January 12th. Oh, you know what? I retract my statement. Sorry, I missed that part.
I had to do my own double check.
I've been sick all day. So
yeah, but it was in fact on the 12th, and it will be on the 9th.
Okay. Thanks,
Jerry.
Sarah.
I don't really have a question. I just want to say how much fun and how I left that one page Wednesday with a different sort of feeling. The readers were so powerful. I just it was an amazing event, and I recommend everybody attend.
It's
Well,
only
thank
one
you.
page, so it moves quick, you know?
All right. All right. Well, that sounds exciting. We'll have to go take a look at that. So, moving right along, we are at the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And Erin, I think, would be the one talking on that. Is that right?
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. And I also want to thank Councilor Tenbush and especially Taylor and Taryn from the city, who have been very supportive of our work. So last quarter, we reported that we had adopted a pilot equity lens, and we understand there may be some questions about that. And we definitely ultimately want to have a broad buy-in on this. So I am going to email the tool that we developed to the City Council so you all can have a chance to look at it and develop any questions that you might have for us, and so we can engage in some robust conversation about that tool. We are continuing to work on applying the equity lens to the committee recruiting process. We also watched a DEI 101 webinar, which we thought was, it wasn't too much, because it can be too much. It was just enough information. So it was a great gateway webinar that we are planning to do a viewing and invite folks from the different committees and you all to participate in a viewing here in the next month. I'm guessing sometime in February we'll be doing that. So look out for that information. And then we're also just beginning to work on our 2022 goal setting. So today was our first meeting of the year, and we are going to next meeting focus on recapping what we set for goals for last year and begin charting our course for this current year. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Erin? Katie.
Hi, Erin. I don't really have a question. Thank you for everything. I'm so glad that the DEIC is off the ground and really focused on their goals and helping develop that equity lens. I just wanted to throw out there as a sort of suggestion of sorts for the 2022 goals that you guys set. I really have high hopes that the DEIC is going to help I would say bridge some of the gaps that we have in income classes here in our city. That being said, internet equitability seems to be an issue, especially down here in the Lakeshore neighborhood. And it would be really great to see the DEIC take on something practical, like, accessing the internet within our city and making sure that that is achievable for everybody within the city limits. And and I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as a sort of pseudo suggestion of something to put on the goals for 2022. And I would really love to hear some of the ideas coming out of the DEIC of what we as a city can do to help bring internet accessibility to some of the lower income residents in our city. So just wanted to throw that out there, and thank you again for what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Katie. I think that is something that has come up several times in our conversations about what is a DEI committee, what do we cover? And a lot of people tend to get tripped up and think it's, we're focused only on racial diversity, but access to internet is one of those things that has definitely come up as part of what we plan to work on. And with the schools having to have internet access for every kid, that's definitely been front and center. So I will take that back and we will work on including that into our goals for 2022.
Great.
And I just wanted to say, I agree with you with the kids, but actually these days for adults too, so much of the internet is where people are getting things like rental assistance. And what's so unfortunate is that people who don't have internet access have limited options in their rental assistance. And especially with all of the eviction moratoriums that have been going on for the last year and a half, and a lot of those are looking to sort of sunset really soon. It would be really nice to think that the residents who really need access to the internet for services like rental assistance programs, or even just applying for a job. Applying for a job, you have to have the internet. I'd really love to see an issue like that, a really practical issue that's going to impact people in the lowest income brackets in our city. I really, really would love to see the DEIC come up with some ideas. So thank you for taking a look at that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Aaron. All right, and that is the last of our reports. Sadie, is that right? I don't have any more on there. Okay. And then I have the city manager's report.
Yeah, so first off, Melanie and I were talking about a goal setting. We usually do our goal setting at the start of February. We weren't sure if you guys wanted to wait until we get a city manager, if you want to go ahead and we were thinking if you wanted to go ahead February 6th, we usually have it on a Sunday afternoon. So church is over and we aren't taking up another day. It's usually easier for people to do the Sunday afternoon, but do you want to hold off on that till you get city manager, or do you want to go ahead and try to, and Melanie wanted me to tell you, we have a lot of goals that we haven't completed from last year. So it's not like we don't have anything to do. If you guys want to wait till we have a for sure city manager and work with that. So.
Well, I think that's an answer for council. How does council feel about that? You want to wait, hold on for Katie?
My 2 cents is that the council goal setting, or the council workshop that we have at the beginning of the year, is for the council. And since the council is still intact and we're going to have goals for this year, I think that it would be beneficial for the council to meet. And maybe in addition to doing some goal setting, we could also look at doing some team building exercises or something along those lines. Yep. That being said, once we do get another city manager in place, I think that it would be beneficial for the city to hold a second goal setting workshop, not necessarily just for the council in that second workshop setting, but that would be a really great opportunity for the council to get to know the new city manager, as well as to reiterate some of what our goals are to the new person. So I personally, looking at my calendar, love the idea of the 6th. Please don't make it for the weekend after. If you make it, if you're going to have to do something other than the 6th of February, I would request that it be 2 weeks later, just because I do have my kids every other week and my time with them is already so limited. And I would really love to be a part of the council goal setting workshop. So that being said, I just wanted to throw that out there, that my 2 cents are we should as a council meet on the 6th. And then once we have another city manager in place, meet again as a second time as a council with the new city manager.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, everybody else feel that is okay situation?
Okay, so look for information coming soon.
Yeah, all right. All right, go ahead. And what else you got?
And then this is my last council meeting, and I kind of wrote down some notes I kind of wanted to get out there. So on January 14th of this year was my 34th year of being with the city of Estacada. And during that time, I had the opportunity to work with 52 city councilors, 7 mayors, and 6 city managers. And I sat in on approximately 800 meetings, council meetings, workshops, and budget meetings. And in about 650 of those, I was the city recorder. So I was doing the minutes for all of those. The last 150 have been a city manager, so haven't had to do the minutes, but they're more involved with the packets. I've been interim city manager or the budget offer 4 times during those years when we were between city managers. And, you know, I've been involved in a lot of decisions, and, you know, we have so many different kinds of decisions as a city councilor and city staff. And, you know, a lot of these decisions are expensive and technical and very exciting decisions. For example, like the wastewater treatment plant. You know, people might not think it's exciting, but it is exciting to be involved with those types of decisions. But we've also had the mundane decisions where, you know, they're just boring and you aren't spending much money, but there are things you have to do. But, you know, I just always in my head throughout the years know that all the decisions that we made, whether they were exciting or boring, are important and vital to this community. And they each need to be considered equally, even though some are more exciting and you know, kind of attract more attention. But all of your decisions are very vital to this community. I'm looking forward to have more time off. I'm gonna read, I want to travel, and I want to spend more time with my grandkids. So those are kind of my plans right now. Of course, I've been appointed to a couple committees, and I probably will help out with other organizations in town. You know, some of the highlights of my time here have been working with all 3 phases of Wade Creek Park. I was hoping that phase 3 would be done before I left, but the circumstances and the weather and COVID have kind of delayed that a little bit. But I'll be around when we're doing that dedication for the auditorium. The new library was very exciting. You know, we went through a lot before the new library was built. There was I'm not going to say it was a process to decide where to put the library. You know, some people wanted it downtown because if you don't all know it, the library was where the council chambers is. That was the library. That one room was the library before we built our new library. And some people weren't happy with where we placed the library, but I think now, I think everyone loves the library. I think everyone loves where it's at. It's in a beautiful setting. And so I think we definitely made the right decision, even though there were questions at the time. Probably one of the biggest challenges was the last 2 years with COVID. And, you know, the city being a small city, we weren't really prepared for the distance working and all that. And our staff just came together and were able to put everything together where, you know, I think it was a very smooth transition. I think there was minimal disruption to customer service. And I think that the staff did a really good job in the last 2 years on getting set up to deal with the pandemic that hopefully is becoming an endemic within the next month. I have a lot of thank yous, and I'm not gonna, you know, I don't even want to put names out there because I would miss people if I tried to put names down to all my thank yous. But I do want to thank as a whole staff. I have a wonderful staff. You have a wonderful staff. Throughout the years, we have had just a great staff. We have so many people that have been here such a long time. People come. Even some of our city managers come and they've only planned on staying a couple years, but they just love it here and stay longer. And I can't say enough about the staff, and especially Melanie and Sadie putting up with everything I send them. And especially with me, I've been cleaning my desk, and Melanie's desk gets stacked. She'll be gone and she'll come back with a big stack of papers because it's like, you can have these, you know, we're very paper conscious now. So most of our stuff's on our computers, but I have a lot of paper stuff because I'm old. And so, you know, I said, you can have these or you can get rid of them, but they're yours now. So she's been great, and Sadie's been great. Sadie took over my position, and I have to say she does it better than I did. She's very on top of things, and I'll get something across in my emails, a new requirement, and I'll send it to her, and she goes, yep, I've got it done. And you guys really have a good one there with Sadie. So I want to thank the council, this council, and all the other different councils that I've worked with. It's been a pleasure. We've gone through hard times, and I just hope that, you know, everyone continue to respect each other and just, you know, do what's best for our community, and have open minds and just listen to everyone and do what's best. I want to thank my committees and commissions and boards. They've all been great. They've moved things along. They've done a lot of things to make this Esticated a better community to live in, and we couldn't do it without them. You know, we have a lot of support services and contracts that we work with, and some that I really want to thank is Curran McLeod, our engineers. We've been with them since I've been here, and Pat, a lot of you don't know Pat, but he was Curran, And Kurt is McLeod, of course. And Pat and Kurt have been with us through a lot of things. They've designed all of our facilities. Hassan, who passed away last year, had been with them for a long time, and he's greatly missed because he had a lot of knowledge that's really irreplaceable. The Clackamas County Sheriff, they were here when I got here. They were gone for a while. Now they're back. Very great to work with. Clackamas County Planning, they were our planners until we hired Taylor a year and a half ago. And we had some great planners come out to work with us from Clackamas County, and also Northwest Code Professionals, who is our building department right now. And so lastly, I know they aren't here, and I'm not big on, fanfare and parties, but I do want to thank my family. My husband, Jim, has had to put up with a lot with me, of course, with all those meetings, but he's been supportive the whole time, and my kids and my grandkids and my extended family, everyone has been great. And so I wanted to thank the community for putting up with me. There was a counselor, Karen Hardman. I don't know if all of you remember her, but she was an English teacher at the high school. And, it's not that I haven't had people that I know have hated me, in this town. They would try to get at me any way they can. And, one time, one of those men who just was a consistent thorn in my side, he passed away. And, Karen said to me, Denise, there's going to be people dancing on your grave when you leave too, but you just got to do the good that you can do, because you can't make everyone happy, and people can choose if they like you or not. But, I still treat those people with respect when I see them, even though I might know. So, that's the thing in Estacada. It's a small community. Treat everyone with respect, try to get along and get things done for the better of the community. So I want to thank you for all the years that I've had here.
Well, we all appreciate you immensely, and I can speak for all of us. There is nobody like you, Denise. You have gone through a lot. I've been here probably the most years, and I've seen you do amazing things and come out shining every time. So, I gotta say, it's hard to top you. I don't think we're ever gonna have another you.
Well,
I wouldn't want to. So you are who you are for a reason.
I'm sure they'll be good. They'll just be different.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
But from all of us, we love you, and we appreciate you. I can't hear you. You're off.
I said, and this is not beer, it's diet ginger ale. I started drinking, I thought, oh my gosh, they probably think I'm sitting here drinking a beer.
Well, I was going to join you if you were.
Living it up.
That's after the meeting.
That's right.
Thank you.
Well, we thank you, Denise. We appreciate you. All right. Now we are at the public hearing. I know you're all waiting for that. I will now close the City Council and open the public hearing to discuss Resolution 2022-002, a resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. I will ask staff to explain the funding.
Sadie, do you want me to go ahead and do this?
Sure, if you want.
So we, as you get more money than you expect, revenue wise, you have to allow for a supplemental budget to be able to spend that money. So we already know there's going to be an excess of building permit fees. So we're right now raising that up. We're changing it by 400,000 to put it at $1 million instead of the 600,000 budgeted. And then at the same time, we're putting that amount into contractual, because we do pay out 75% of that to the building department. And the other 25 goes to staff time that it takes to process those. And also in the grants, geez, Sadie, this was this was the 52,000. We received a grant for the HNA analysis, and we had not expected that, so we're adding that to grants. We already have the HNA analysis in the budget for the full amount, So we're just putting that back into operating contingency, even though it will be spent on the grant fund. But instead of increasing that grant fund, we didn't need to do that. So it's in contingency. For the library, we will need to receive the grant they received for their vehicle. And that way we can expend that money, which we will be doing shortly. So that's the $100,000 extra in the, or $102,000 in the library fund. In the sewer treatment fund, we had a bigger beginning fund balance than was anticipated. So we're going to ahead and increase that to what the real amount was, which is a little over $1 million. And then the extra funds are going to be used to pay for some biosolids handling. We're experimenting with ways to get rid of our biosolids, but it's very expensive until we do have that done. So we have to increase the budget for that. And then lastly, assessments and principles with our LID bonding fund. We like to pay off anything that we receive in extra payments. This year we received extra payments of a little over 20,000. We also received an extra payment at the end of the last fiscal year that we didn't get into the beginning fund balance of about 30,000. And so we're going to make that extra payment of 50,000 to the people holding the bonds so we can get that paid down a little bit quicker. And so those are the revenues that we're receiving that we want to spend that the supplemental budget addresses.
Okay. Are there any questions for Denise? No? Is there anybody in the audience, Sadie, that wishes to speak on this? No? Okay. I will now close the public hearing and go back into the city council meeting. And if I could have a motion on resolution 2022-002, a resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2021 and 2022.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Hey, Sean, thank you for reading out that motion. That made it so much easier.
Yeah, do it to it. Okay, next on this, we have resolution 2022-003, a resolution for the purpose of transferring appropriations per ORS 294.463. So can I get a motion on that?
I so move.
Okay, I got a first. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, House Bill 3115, Councillor Dunsmuir. Take it away.
Yes, that is me. Sadie, how's me sharing the screen gonna work out?
Yeah,
honestly.
you can share.
Oh,
You have
okay.
the button at the bottom of your screen that says share screen.
Hold on. I'm on my iPad and honestly, I don't know anything about using iPads. So, hold on. There we go. I want to make sure that I've got the thing up. How do I go back? Sorry. I'm so sorry. I hate iPads so much.
Katie, are you simply trying to share the bill? Because I have it up on my screen. I can share it for you if that's what you're trying to do. You need to just tell me what you want me to move.
No, I have a PowerPoint.
Oh,
Katie,
okay. Gotcha.
I think I can do it if you want.
Okay, yeah. If it's possible for you to get to see my screen. Can you hear me okay?
Well, can I share
we
my
can hear
screen and use your presentation?
Oh, yeah. Can we do it that way?
Yep.
And then I'll just ask you to change the slide or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll do it that way.
Okay.
Awesome. So tonight is really just the start of a whole conversation that I'm hoping will spiral into more conversations that we have as a city. I really just wanted to get this into everybody's brains and get us all sort of starting to talk about this, okay? So this is House Bill 3115, a conversation about the future of homelessness in Estacada. So, Sadie, is it possible to make that a full screen presentation at all?
I thought I was. I'm not seeing it. Let's see.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm doing.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what else you're doing with the, there we go. Okay.
Sorry. I've got a split screen, so it's hard.
Sounds good. So just a history of House Bill 3115 for people. In 2019, the Circuit Court of Appeals in Martin v. Boise held that the government cannot criminalize certain conduct, such as lying, sleeping, or sitting or sleeping on the streets that is unavoidable as a result of homelessness. The court further concluded that to punish such conduct would be comparable to punishing a person's homeless status, and to do so would be unconstitutional under the 8th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which prohibits imposing excessive fines, bail, or cruel and unusual punishments. Some localities in Oregon have regulations for managing use of public spaces. House Bill 3115 would require local laws on outdoor public spaces and that they be objectively reasonable with regards to persons experiencing homelessness. So that's just a really quick history. I got this specifically from the staff measure summary that they gave to the House Committee on Judiciary back when it was passed in 2021. So I just wanted everyone to know where I got this from. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please, Sadie. Thank you. And what is House Bill 3115? Well, it requires that by July 1st of 2023, local laws regulating the acts of sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry in outdoor public spaces be objectively reasonable as to time, place, and manner with regards to persons experiencing homelessness. It creates affirmative defense that law is not objectively reasonable for persons charged with violating local law. It allows persons experiencing homelessness to file suit for relief to challenge the objective reasonableness of local laws. It does not create a right of action for monetary damages, but it authorizes the court under certain circumstances to award attorney fees to prevailing plaintiff. It also declares an emergency effective on passage. So we are in a statewide emergency or state of emergency for housing at this moment. Again, this was taken from the staff measure summary given to the House Committee on Judiciary. From the text itself, any city or county law that regulates the acts of sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry outdoors on public property that is open to the public must be objectively reasonable as to time, place, and manner with regards to persons experiencing homelessness. It is an affirmative defense to a charge of violating a city or county law described in subsection 2 of the section that the law is not objectively reasonable. And for purposes of subsection 2 and 3 of the section, reasonableness shall be determined based on the totality of the circumstances, including but not limited to the impact of the law on persons experiencing homelessness. So that's a lot of technical legal jargon that is really hard to really take clear direction and run with it, right? So what does the League of Oregon Cities have to say about 3115? Well, this was sent to everybody as part of our packet directly from the League of Oregon Cities website in a news statement that was released back in June of last year. It says that House Bill 3115 requires cities and counties to review their ordinances and, if necessary, make updates in light of the recent Martin v. City of Boise federal court decision. The bill is the product of a work group effort between the League of Oregon Cities, the Oregon Law Center, the Association of Oregon Counties, as well as individual cities and counties. The work group spent many hours last fall crafting a concept to recognize key principles from the Martin decision in state law. House Bill 3115 requires that any city or county law regulating the acts of sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry outside on public property must be objectively reasonable based on the totality of the circumstances. There's a lot of repeat verbiage in here, you guys, because again, this is pretty legal jargon and they like to repeat themselves. But ultimately, the bill preserves the ability of cities to manage public spaces effectively for the benefit of an entire community, and recognizes that what is objectively reasonable will look different in different communities. And importantly, House Bill 3115 includes a delayed implementation date of July 1st, 2023 to allow local governments time to review and, if necessary, update ordinances and support intentional community conversations. The LOC, AOC, and OLC will partner to provide guidance to the cities and counties over the coming year. So this was given to us in June of 2021, and so far there haven't been any updates that I've seen come from the League of Oregon Cities that is updating any guidance that we have. So that being said, again, so many questions still are around what these bills mean. So I wanted to really include what some others are saying. These are 3 more news articles that I did not include in today's packet. I did include one in today's packet, but I really did find other ones that are all cited right here. So I just wanted to I pulled a couple of excerpts from these articles that I have cited. The first one says that according to advocates and government representatives who developed the bill, HB 3115 is meant to ensure that cities and counties comply with a series of recent federal court rulings that governments cannot criminalize camping or issue fines if people have no other place to go. Now that one I really loved because that was a very clear way of saying if we don't have a place for other people to go, we can't criminalize camping or issue fines. Pretty black and white there. That being said, the Oregon Citizens Lobby, kind of a different source for me to cite, but I wanted to include, again, sources from a bunch of different sources. They spoke to it and said that it takes local law away from local authorities and allows for frivolous lawsuits based upon a non-defined term, objectively reasonable. The U.S. Supreme Court denied a petition by the city of Boise to review the case Martin v. Boise, and this leaves in place earlier rulings by the Ninth Circuit that homeless persons cannot be punished for sleeping outside on public property in the absence of adequate alternatives. So when I read, in the absence of adequate alternatives, that again is starting to lead us into an area where we actually have direction of where the conversation could go to now. And then the very last article I wanted to cite from was actually from the Lund Report, which I think is a publication specific to the city of Seaside. So that's why you might see Seaside included in here, but it being a smaller city with smaller publications like Esticated, I wanted to make sure to include this. So House Bill 3115 aims to protect unsheltered Oregonians from fines or arrest for sleeping or camping on public property when there are no other options. The bill will bring more clarity to city ordinances that regulate these activities, Nelson said. Again, this is pulled from an article, so you can go back and refer to the actual article or the whole thing if you want to. I've got all of my sources cited, clearly saying where and when camping activities are allowed and where they're not. It recognizes that what's objectively reasonable is going to look different in different communities, she said. It's going to look different for a community like Seaside with your different factors, your size, than what's going to make sense in Portland, in Medford, or the eastern side of the state. So that moves us to the summary. Estacada will need to develop policy that aligns with the court decision of Martin v. Boise. That's part 1 of the law that was passed. We are going to have to review our policy and make sure that it aligns with the Martin v. Boise decision. It also means that as of July of 2023, Estacada as a city will not be able to enforce public camping restrictions by threatening fines or arrest unless the city has developed a policy that is objectively reasonable, i.e. alternatives to camping. So I wanted to bring this to your guys' attention because now we've got some major questions to ask moving forward. The when, who, what, and how, right? So when do we as a city want to start having this conversation, again, knowing that we have 17 months basically from today to make sure that our city is compliant? Who do we reach out to? Who do we partner with? Do we want to reach out to the Housing Authority of Clackamas County? Do we want to start in by having this conversation within our own city and the subcommittees within our own city, being it the DEIC, the Planning Commission, the Infrastructure Committee, or do we need to form a new subcommittee? That's always an option too. And then of course, you know, what barriers are we going to face? And I think we've only got like 2 more clicks here. There we go. So yeah, what barriers are we going to face, and what does reasonably objective mean, and who helps define this, right? Or objectively reasonable. I think I mixed those 2 up on that slide. I apologize, but you know, who's going to help define this for our city? And what does that really mean? And then ultimately, how are we going to implement or pay for a new program if we develop a program out of this? How are we going to pay for it? Maybe in the partnerships that we create out of this, maybe we can find a funding source, or maybe we can ultimately go back to having the conversation about the construction excise tax. You know, who knows? That being said, I really think that it's important for us to kind of start having this conversation. I really wanted to put this in front of everybody's face so that we're all starting to ask those important questions, knowing that we only have about 17 months to be in compliance. Otherwise, our city won't be able to do things like enforce public camping restrictions. And as someone who lives in the Lakeshore neighborhood, I would like to see our city have the opportunity to enforce our public camping restrictions. You know, when we are able to. And that being said, we just need to talk about what that looks like in Esticated, like the League of Oregon Cities and everybody else says. The way that we approach this is going to be different in every community. And we just have to figure out what that's going to look like in Esticated. So that is it. Thank you, Sadie, for helping me with that slide, the slideshow presentation.
All right. Well, Katie, are you willing to take some questions if there are any?
Well, I don't have like a lot of information because this was not Katie coming to the council with ideas of how to fix it or an idea of a direction to go. This was me coming to the council saying, hey guys, here's this really big thing that we should probably start talking about sooner rather than later. And how is that conversation going to go? And when do we want to have it? And how do we want to have it? And that's really ultimately what I think the major questions are right now. We're not going to be able to solve this issue right here at this council meeting, and I don't expect us to. But I do want to hear what other people's perspectives are on when we should be talking about this issue as a city and how we should be effectively moving forward with it.
Sure. I know we have 2 now that we just talked about retreats that we might put this into that would be a good time to actually discuss some of these options that we have. But that being said, Joel, what do you have?
Hey, thank you for the presentation, Katie. I had a chance to look over the House Bill 3115, and I wanted to point out a couple of things that are also critically important for us to notify about this, such as Section 1A, which it says city or county law does not include policies developed pursuant to ORS 203.077 or 203.079, which specifically identify things that we can do and that we're supposed to already have in place as a city right now. That says local governments, this is ORS 203.077, local governments to develop humane policy for removal of homeless camps on public property. All municipalities and counties shall develop a policy that recognizes the social nature of the problem of homelessness, individuals camping on public property. 2, implement the policy as developed to ensure the most humane treatment for removal of homeless individuals from the camping sites on public property. So therefore, under the ORS statutes, just under that alone, not only are we required by the statutes to develop such policy, it actually grants us the authority to remove them from our public spaces. When I go into the second part, which is ORS 203.079, which actually is required elements of local government policies on camping by homelessness, it goes into talking about some of those guidelines. I'm not going to read them all to you guys. I recommend you do read them, but it basically talks about that law enforcement would be removing those people from that location. They had to properly post a 24-hour notice. They had to keep items that they removed from location in storage for 30 days, and so on. And then they also have to reach out to local agencies such as like DHS to see if they can assist with people relocating. According to the statutes, it would be part of the requirements is that they would reach out to them and allow a social service agency to relocate them. And then when I looked at some of the other responses that have come down from that Supreme Court decision, many cities have actually gone with if there is available beds within a reasonable distance, and reasonable distance would be anything located upon public transport. So, for example, anything in Clackamas, Portland, Gresham, anything like that that has like TriMet capabilities to reach from Estacada, that was what would fall within a reasonable distance because they can be put onto, or they can get onto public transportation. However, some cities pay for it, some cities don't. To allow them to get on the bus and go to one of the resources available. And the law enforcement generally has an available updated list in a lot of these locations of what's available at those locations. They can call ahead and find out what's available, and then they can help them get onto the public transportation and go to those locations. And looking up in the local area, just a quick search of a 20-mile radius, there's about 40 different locations between Gresham, Portland, Oregon City, Clackamas, and all those locations that are meant to help and house, either provide resources or provide housing to those who are experiencing homelessness. So the resources are already out there. And a recent check found that there are actually more beds available in the state right now than there are people that are looking to receive those beds, basically that are applying for those beds. And that was the last consensus on the nonprofits report that they had put out. So, and that's and I'll have to dig that report back up. I was looking at it about a week ago. So, but if I can find it, I'll go ahead and share that out again to you guys.
Okay. Katie, you had something else to add there. Your mic's off, Katie.
Looks like Denise has something she wants to say.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I do. So, yeah, staff has been watching this, and in fact, after the 2019 Boise decision, the staff did go in, and we have already changed our camping ordinance to not include lying and sleeping, because we knew that was going to be, but we have defined camping because this House bill says you do not have to allow any kind of cooking equipment or flaming. So we have already made our definition of camping to be, we think it's going to be okay with this. So lying and sleeping on public places is, for our definition, is different than camping. So, but we are waiting. The League of Oregon Cities is working on this. They're going to be getting some information out to the cities, and they'll be working with individual cities. Because again, like Katie said, each city is going to be so different on how you're going to try to address this. So, but we have already been aware that, you know, if someone, the only part that's going to be hard is when Boise originally came out, they said you can't keep people from lying or sleeping in public places, but you can keep them from camping. And now, though, they've added that they can have warming, like they can have a tent. So as soon as you are allowed to put up a tent, it's really hard to move them along each day. Even if you have time, place, and manner, it's going to be a struggle. Fortunately, at least so far, Esticated doesn't have a huge problem with this, but we are going to have to address it before this time limit. So I know the League of Oregon Cities is spending a lot of time on this, working, and as soon as we hear something, we'll get it to the council and start going through the processes with our committees that might be involved too. So,
all right.
I just want to throw that in there.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. You did a great job, Katie, putting that out there. Is there anything else you want to add before we move along?
I guess I want to close with, you know, as we're moving through the year, and as we are talking about, you know, different programs and different ideas, I know that the conversation for construction excise tax is going to come up later this year. I know that when we have that conversation, there are so many open-ended definitions in the construction excise tax law that allows Estacada to make certain definitions, like what we define as affordable housing programs and things like that. I want everyone to keep this particular law in mind as we go through the year, because, you know, really I'm quite afraid of next July and it kind of sneaking up on us and us not having any sort of funding in place or any real adequate alternatives. And I'm sorry. I just don't think that as a city, we should be looking at give them a bus ticket as our first adequate alternative to facing or of how to work with the homeless population in Estacada. But that, like I said, we weren't going to be solving the issue at today's meeting. I just wanted to know how to move forward with it. And really, I think one of the biggest questions moving forward is how are we going to pay for anything that we implement? No matter what we implement, how are we going to pay for it? So,
Yeah. Jerry.
So I just have a quick question for Katie, and you might not have the answer to this, but you're the best person for to ask this question to. What do you think? What percentage of the Estacada? I don't even percentage might be hard, but how much of Estacada do you think is going to be affected when this eviction moratorium is actually gone? How much more homelessness, how much bigger of an impact is that going to have on us? Because I know it's got to be a decent amount. I mean, and by a decent amount, I mean 5% is a decent amount. So yeah, just a question: how much do you think that when that eviction moratorium is finally gone, how much do you think that's going to affect homelessness in Estacada?
so gosh, Jerry, I really wish I could give you an actual number and an actual statistic, but anything I tell you is just going to be pulled from thin air. What I will tell you, though, is that pre-pandemic, when we were given the housing needs analysis that came from the county in 2019, the statistic that came out of our housing needs analysis was that over 50% of Estacada residents were considered house poor, or where their cost of their house or their rent exceeded more than half of their income, and that makes it a housing cost burdened in Estacada. So that being said, pre-pandemic, that statistic was over 50%. I really would not be surprised, not only with the pandemic, but also in the rise in market rents for our entire area in general. I wouldn't be surprised if that number was higher. I don't know how the eviction moratorium sunset is going to affect people, again, number wise, but what I can tell you is there will be people who are affected by it. Whether it be 5 or 15, I think is still a pretty significant impact on our community, especially really when you consider who those 5 or those 15 people are. They could be your neighbor, they could be your brother, they could be your dad, they could be your teacher. And you just don't know. And really everybody in Oregon is basically 1 month away from being homeless. I mean, it really just takes your car breaking down. You have a massive auto mechanic bill to get your car working so you can get to work again. And now you've missed your rent payment. And now on the 8th, your landlord has given you a 72-hour notice. And now by the end of this month, a judge has told you you have to move out of your place. But now you've got an eviction on your record. So now you don't actually qualify to be a renter at most commercial properties. So that being said, housing has been an issue for a very long time. The eviction moratorium sunsetting in June is going to, it's absolutely going to have an impact on our community. I don't know how big that impact is going to be, but I certainly don't want to sit around and find out without having some sort of a plan in place either. So.
Okay, Joel.
You know, I had a thought at the time, and it's kind of slipped my head at this point. So I do think it is important, definitely, that I don't want us to not have the conversation unless I'm not getting at that. So I'm going to put that out ahead of time. But I think it's important for us to talk about some of the homelessness that could potentially come from the from the eviction moratorium, the minute that went in, I knew that was going to cause problems at one point, because some people, they just choose to stop paying the rent, or they just can't because of other issues. And that the big problem there is that while we can have resources in place, it's also a responsibility of those people to begin getting some of those resources ahead of time going. There's a lot of available resources out there right now for them. And I think the best thing we can do off the bat as a city is to provide those resources, from nonprofits to government-based resources that can actually help them to catch up on the rent behind that they're on right now. So that when that moratorium ends, they're not in such a bad position. So there's everything from COVID funding out there. For example, the Ant Farm has a big program with millions of dollars that they've had available to help people catch up on it. So I know personally, because my own father was a recipient of it. So but yeah, so there are resources out there. So getting them hooked in with those resources that we can locate would be a good way to stop some of those issues from happening ahead of time. While we may not be able to help everybody, at least that's going to help reduce that problem now. But at the same time, bringing back up the construction excise tax and things, I don't think that's going to be a solution to stopping the homeless issue out here, or the rent prices. That's an entire area, like metro area problem. It's an entire Oregon problem, is that our entire rents across the state have just skyrocketed. And so it's not just in Estacada, it's all over the place. And so there's the solution is not going to be a simple one. It's not going to be a one we can do locally. That solution's got to come from outside of the city as well. So,
okay. Anybody else wish to comment? Katie, we appreciate your talk. You did a great job. Thank you. And we will move along now. And we will look at this real soon, I'm sure now. We appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. We are at the invocation guideline discussion. This is a topic that's come up recently. I saw it on different social media sites, and everybody's talking about it. So let's see what we can come up with here. Somebody want to start this conversation about invocation? Katie?
Well, I can kind of background. We included all the minutes in the packet. And, it came to be.
You're frozen up.
Organizations in town came, made a, presentation. The council, kind of said, okay, we can do this. And over the years, that's kind of what we've done. It hasn't been looked at annually. And as you guys know from the start of the meeting, the DEIC committee has said their recommendation is to just not do it, but if you do, to have, look at your guidelines and update them or whatever. And yeah, Sadie did put out to her group of people, the city recorders, and pretty much not many cities do this, if any at all. She couldn't find anyone that had any guidelines with this. So so that's kind of where the discussion is going. If you guys want to just stop doing it, or if you want to continue, then adjust your guidelines. So that's
okay. I got a couple of people raising their hand. Katie?
My favorite idea came from Miss Patty Allen in the minutes that you sent us. Thank you so much for sending those in. Personally, I'm not even going to get into my personal feelings about invocations before, during, or after meetings. I don't think that my personal feelings have any relevance to this conversation. That being said, I love the idea of a moment of silence. A moment of silence gives people the opportunity to have prayer within their own personal time or space or whatnot, and it gives them the freedom to invoke whatever higher power they want to or don't want to invoke. And I really do love the idea of giving people an opportunity to have a moment of reflection before the meeting starts. So I don't necessarily want to see it being completely taken away, but at the same time, I do see the benefits of not having an invocation that is specifically denominational or belonging to a particular sect and religion. So that being said, I think that a moment of silence gives everybody the opportunity to practice their religion in their way, without us actually taking anything away from anyone. And I love that idea from Miss Patty Allen. And thank you so much for sending us those minutes.
Okay, Joel.
Katie kind of beat me to it. That was going to be the recommendation. I had a chance when I first saw this come up. I think it was almost right after it was posted. I've been kind of querying with some of the community members, some ideas and things. And I brought up the idea of the moment of silence because we have a pretty heavy religious based background here in Estacada. And so I know that just completely removing it was going to be a fight on that end too. So after kind of querying with several different from religious side, from people that actually are agnostic as well and stuff, they all kind of came to the same conclusion that the best way I think to still have that and to find a good meeting in the middle ground was to have a moment of silence before. That way we can reflect, we can bless the council as we see fit in our own ways, and still and not be not be causing any sort of what's what I'm looking for. Oh, good golly, offense to anyone else. So,
Okay. How does the council feel about this? The council pretty much in agreement, Paul?
I could go either way on this one here in terms of either a moment of silence or doing away with it altogether. To me, a moment of silence, it's a good compromise, but it adds just another level of formality to the beginning of the meeting that I don't know needs to be there. If we did a moment of silence, how long? Would we do it before the meeting began? Would we do it after the Pledge of Allegiance? To me, taking it out entirely would make sense. And just if we weren't going to do an invocation, let's just not do anything at all. And if that certainly doesn't stop people from praying for the council, praying for the city, doing all that on their own time. So I'm fine with just doing away with it altogether and including no moment of silence.
Okay. Anybody else got some Charity?
I'm okay with compromising with a moment of silence. If we are going to have people who want to lead an invocation that is not where you're not a member of a faith-based religion, and I'm not just talking about Judeo-Christianity, I'm talking about Buddhism or Hinduism. If you're an atheist, you can't say invocation if you don't believe in something. So we would need to do away with that language and then therefore go with a moment of silence, which I'm completely fine with. I don't want to do away with something because I don't want to have people miss that opportunity to just take that moment to quiet their minds and prepare for the meeting and prepare for going into, making decision-making, as well as people who attend the meetings, coming before the meeting and just quieting their minds beforehand, and whether it be prayer or whatnot, to just really give them that moment of reflection to just kind of shake off the day. They're coming home from work and then moving forward with the meeting. I'd hate to see the invocation be removed, but if it's going to cause a lot of conflict and strife within the community, then I would rather just move to a moment of silence and have that be that.
Okay. Jerry, how do you feel about that?
Well, had a big long talk during the DEIC meeting. Listen to their suggestions, and I'm leaning towards just doing away with it. I've talked to a lot of people. This issue was brought to me before, and I suggested that it be brought to council as a whole beforehand, and I think if we can't make it completely inclusive, then it should just be, it shouldn't be part of our procedures.
Okay, Justin, I haven't heard from you. How do you feel?
I actually really liked what Charity said. I would echo Charity.
All right, good. Okay, so I think we've kind of got a cross between here. We've got the moment of silence, which I'm okay with. I mean, it really doesn't matter what faith you have. You should have that opportunity at the beginning to whatever your faith is, have that. I think that should be still there. So is this something we can vote on right here then? Let's just put it out there.
Yeah, so,
Katie?
oh.
Yeah, Katie, go ahead before she.
Mhm. Go ahead, Kate.
I just wanted to point out on our city council agendas that, number one, it says that call to order by presiding officer, an invocation will be offered prior to call.
Mhm.
I would think that the moment of silence would occur just in the same way, and would replace the word invocation with moment of silence.
I agree.
I would like to move to approve that we replace our invocation offered prior to city council meetings, and we replace it with moment of silence.
I agree.
Second
Okay,
that.
so
I'll second
I've got a
that.
first and second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Maybe
Aye.
we can raise hands so Sadie has a clear who's saying it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, everybody, okay.
opposed?
Okay.
All right, I
never
think that's
mind.
pretty definite.
I'm raising for a question after this.
Okay, and then Joe, go ahead with your question before I move on.
Just because moment of silence, should we put some, just I was kind of asking the council this one, should we put some sort of basic guidelines or what we're meaning by moment of silence, 1 minute, anything like that? Or
I think we can pretty much judge it by invocation right now. What does that take? Like
30 seconds is what the invocations were to
seconds?
be. Yep.
All right, so I think we can keep in that same realm, relatively easy, without a guidance.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll move on from there. We are second consideration ordinance 2022.
You can always wash your hands. Come on.
001, an
Sorry.
ordinance amending chapters 2.36, emergency management of the Esticated Municipal Code. All right, so we don't need anything on this, but a motion.
No, just a motion in a second. Yeah.
Okay, so Joel, you got something before we move on?
I'm just gonna present to the council that we try to discuss this further. I've even got an email from a citizen since our last meeting asking why the council didn't take further discussion on this. And so I'm just going to propose that we actually take further time to discuss this and present some of the information like I did from last meeting, and see if the council is willing to discuss it further, and see how the council thought about that. So, because it is coming from the citizens for us to do that. So,
Well, you've heard that, council. How do you feel about that before we move on? Does anybody want to discuss it prior?
I mean, we can take questions. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yep.
What particular questions did you have in mind, Joel?
as again proposed, as looking at other cities had, some of the items were actually proposed into the ordinance, and that's the discussion that I wanted to bring forth, as we had found in other cities. And one of the things that was recommended to us before we move forward fully with it is to have staff come back with, after looking at some of those cities, and then we have discussion about why those cities might have some of those pieces I had recommended, like the it would help me with the word here, where you one after the other. Oh my goodness.
Succession of authority.
Thank you. I could not get the word out of my head. Succession of authority, and then the guidelines around financial pieces of it. And those regulations were pretty consistent across most of them. And so the request would be for the staff to bring back some information from there, and that's for us to have a discussion of why they might have that, and then to see what the council agrees after that. So,
all right, Katie.
I'm just going to answer your question with a question. What is the benefit of bringing some of the pieces out of our EOP into the ordinance, but not all of the pieces of our EOP out of the EOP itself into the ordinances? What is the benefit of picking and choosing what shows up in the ordinance and what shows up in the EOP itself? That's just my one question for you.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor. Because I believe in what I've seen, and that's why I wanted to discuss further, is why they might have those, is because some things I believe should be more foundational Whereas an ordinance, for example, as you see, we're doing voting a second time, has to be voted on 3 times in order for it to become final. Whereas a simple adjustment to the EOP is a simple consensus or vote on the council to make a change. And so therefore it makes things like financial decisions or secession of authority.
Succession.
Thank you. To be more to be more concrete and to be more finite about what's there. And therefore the people know that they can rely on that foundation that we're running it on law versus something that is so pliable, especially like I said, when it comes to regulations of what's guiding that emergency operations plan. And so that's why I say bring back several of the cities that have it and then have discussion of why they might have it and look at what they've done.
Okay. Kate, you got another question?
So if we just put in this one ordinance that we're looking at, what's been proposed by staff, if we change the language to basically say that the changes that would happen or be approved through council would just need to be approved twice. I mean, would that work?
Okay, so I'm gonna go by what I heard Melanie say at the last meeting, because she was the one that worked on this, and we told her she didn't have to be here tonight because this was the second passage. So in order to make any major changes to the EOP, it is in an ordinance, just like you guys are doing right now, to adopt your EOP. So, you would still, all ordinances go through the same procedure. And you have many kind of special ordinances, such as when you do a franchise agreement, that is a special ordinance that has to go through the same thing where it's voted on twice. We never vote on anything 3 times. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but all ordinances have to be considered twice and passed twice. So I think Melanie pointed out that they did look at other cities, and it's about half and half of those that have, some of them have their whole EOP in the ordinances. Some of them have parts, and some of them do like us, that they refer, and that it was a real kind of even split on that. And so we can certainly do that, but I just want to assure you that the council does have to approve any changes to the EOP, regardless of where it is in the ordinance or if it's in a document. Just like the comprehensive plan. Two. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same as your comprehensive plan and everything like that. Those are ordinance changes that change those to that plan.
So we wouldn't be able to, I just want to clarify. So we wouldn't be able to change the secession of authority in the EOP without the council considering that twice.
Right.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
Paul, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, based on that clarification and what the staff presented here, I think the whole intent of this is to simplify and to end redundancy, as we talked about in the last time that we've gotten together. And to me, it completely makes sense. I had someone come to me and ask what the holdup was on this as well, too. So, I had a citizen specifically ask, why not just let this go through? Because it cleans things up. It puts things through as without any issues to the EOP itself. So
Yeah.
I'm still in favor of what was presented here.
Okay.
It is confusing to have something in 2 places, because then you have to change it in 2 places. You have to be sure you catch it all. So, we would just have to be sure that if we move something into there.
Okay, Joe.
This is the last thing I'll put out there. I think the key thing that I was asking is to understand why all the other cities out there have these broken down into the ordinance. And I haven't seen one where it's just into a plan and this basically says in the ordinance, refer to the plan. I haven't seen that anywhere. When all the ones I was looking at, it's broken down into their actual ordinances. And I just want to make sure we understand why. It maybe that they've learned something that we haven't seen over time or something around that they've had problems with in the past. And that's what my recommendation was, just to look into those, find out why before you make a full decision on to put it this way. And that's been my concern from the beginning, is having it all into a plan, and every other city around the area has it into ordinances and a plan. Why do they do it that way? And we're going to do it different. Not saying that we're going to be wrong in the process, but at least I think we should understand at least why they're doing that way. And it could be that that's the old way of doing it. That could be the answer. Or it could be that there's a really good reason why so many cities have gone that way and done it, because they've either experienced a problem with the other way, or maybe they've tried it, it didn't work. Something. I just like to understand why they have it that way before we completely jump fully into it. I just want us to understand that.
And yeah, and I wasn't involved as a Melanie, but I'm pretty sure that I have looked at the codes that do not have it in. I don't think all cities have it that way. And I'm sure that our advisor or the person you guys picked to rewrite this, you know, they know, and they wouldn't do it this way if it wasn't, you know, something that was commonly done. But I'm kind of looking for, I was going to try to look for a couple cities, but we can certainly put this off if you're uncomfortable. And I wish we would have had Melanie attend. I told her there was no need to. Obviously, I was mistaken because I really can't speak on it because she was the one that really worked with the guy. But I thought she had explained the answer to this question at the last meeting, because I know Charity had asked the same thing. So if you need more clarification, we could certainly wait or.
No, I think we're there. I think it's time to vote on this. So
okay, for example, the city of Malala, they just have one little sentence in there that says the city council shall adopt by resolution and made from time to time the emergency management plan, and none of it's in the code, but it refers to it and that the city council will adopt that.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
one city that doesn't do it, that doesn't have anything in the code except for the reference to it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're ready to make a motion on that. You know what it says? Let's get the motion on the floor and get this through and get this done. So who's going to put a motion out there for me?
I'll move to approve ordinance 2022-001, an ordinance amending chapter 2.36 emergency management of the Esticated Municipal Code.
Okay.
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, people.
Oh.
Okay, we are now at the quarterly financial report. I'll hand that off to you, Denise.
Okay, yeah. You know, I can say the budget looks really, really good. I tried to highlight again the ones that you might be interested in, why they look a little off. Overall, the budget is good. Building is definitely giving us extra income in our reserves, which is nice because you guys tonight approved the Hillway extension engineering contract, and hopefully by the end of next summer, Hillway will be through finally.
Yay.
From Cemetery Road to Campanilla. And I will tell you, it's nothing to do with the budget, but the connection from Deuce Road is all the way to the next stage of the Cascadia Ridge. And so that connection should be done by this summer also. So people from Cascadia Ridge area can go out to Deuce Road and out to town instead of coming all the way through town and then out on the highway. So, and Deuce Road is on the county project list for, I think, next summer to start that. So lots of good things going on. Anyway, if you have any questions about the budget or the numbers for your financial report, ask away.
Okay.
I'm really
Any questions
pleased
for
with it.
Denise on the financial? Do you need anything for this? Is this
No,
just?
no. We just like
Okay.
to bring it to you quarterly so you can see how things are moving along.
And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. We are now at the appoint the interim city manager. And that would
Okay.
be Melanie, I'm assuming.
That's what I am assuming, but you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so we aren't gonna have a city manager in place by my retirement date, and Melanie is my the assistant city manager. It seems to make sense.
Yep.
Every time, like I said, in the last 34 years, I've had 6 city managers, and in between each of those, there was an interim city manager. So staff, you have a wonderful staff, and so Melanie, I think, would be your choice for interim city manager.
I agree totally. Katie, do you want to say something? You raised your hand. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I was wondering why Sadie didn't want it. She says no.
No, thanks. You don't want any part of that.
All right.
All right. So
we'll punish
what do we
Melanie,
need
won't
to
we?
do from this point? I mean, as
I
far as,
think you need a motion and a second to appoint Melanie city manager to fulfill the position until a permanent city manager is hired.
all right. All right. You heard it?
I so move.
Okay. I got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
First and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We appreciate Melanie. Let her know.
We will.
All right. We are at the next citizen and community group comment. Sadie, do I have anybody in the queue?
Yes, these hands have been raised for quite a while, so I think they still want to speak, but the first one is Tony, so I'll bring him
Okay.
in.
All right.
Oops, can I bring him? Yeah, he's coming. There he is.
All right. Tony, can you hear us? He's not coming through here.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councilmen and women, for your time and your dedication to address the House bill. And actually, Katie or Councilor Dunsmere, thank you so much for sharing your heart for the homeless and the concerns in our community. I want to address one thing first. I don't think any councilor is solely advocating for busing the homeless anywhere. As a matter of fact, I can give a long laundry list of how certain counselors, specifically one counselor, has been specifically involved with the homeless in many different ways. And I'm sure we know who I'm talking about. ECW, as well as others, have offered to transport or to give transportation and serve transportation to the homeless to commute to our Baptist church, who has been receiving some grants via a shelter. And they started actually during the winter. And I'm pretty sure they're still addressing those community needs now. It takes a village. And I was wondering if anyone had any information or knew any further information about that shelter. That's all. Thank you much. And I'm Tony from 1054 Reagan Hill Loop.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I can get some information on that and get it to you guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
right.
I'm bringing in Michael next.
Okay, Michael. Michael Dobbs.
Yes. Hi.
How are you, sir?
Good. I don't know if you can see me or verbal's just fine.
Yeah, we can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, audio is great. So my family has owned property over in rural Estacada for about 12 years now. We currently live on about 7 acres. We just moved from the Portland area, but the acreage we have had a rental house. We basically live in the rental house now. We moved about 2 months from Portland. Been from Portland, born and raised. I can't even begin to tell you, as probably most of you know, what the homelessness is like there and the crime and just, I guess in a nutshell, I just don't want Estacada to have those same kind of elements. I grew up around Marine Drive area, Columbia River. Right now, it's just devastated with tents, and a lot of that is not just. I really believe a lot of it is choice. I know there is some people that have lost their houses, but I believe a lot of it's drugs. A lot of it's opportunity to make wrong decisions, even though there's available help. And to be honest with you, I have a family member who was he chose to be homeless. My oldest son. So I know not all of it is by unfortunate circumstances. And what I'm concerned about is the crime element taking over our community like it has in Portland. That's one of the reasons why we moved out of there. That's all I can say at this point.
Well, we appreciate that perspective. I'm sure you know, since you were down in it, but
I lived it, breathed it. It was horrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the state right now, everywhere, and it's hard to determine what caused it, what started it, what's going to end it. But you know, it's just one of those things we're having to deal with, and it's hard. It's hard, but we appreciate you.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you for your comments.
I'll help however I can with everybody. Just try to steer clear from those circumstances that we escape from. I just don't know how else to say it. You know, and again, I don't want to take away from some people who, you know, they've fallen on hard times. They really have. There are those people who have, and I totally understand that, and I have sympathy for that. I do not have sympathy for the criminal element for those who have chosen that lifestyle. So that's, I guess, it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thanks for moving to our area.
Oh, you bet. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. Shannon Stout.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Thank you, council members. I appreciate your dedication to creating a safe and prosperous city for all citizens of Estacada, housed or not. This has been a historically difficult time for all people in our town. There are extremely limited rental assistance programs available. Clackamas County recently offered assistance and was overwhelmed quickly. Beds in shelters are full and there's long wait lists. The need in secure housing is an emergent crisis like any other in recent history. This housing need comes from Esticadans, our friends, family, and neighbors, and having strong policies will help us to address local houselessness with compassion and keep Esticadans afloat during these difficult times. I look forward to seeing how the city develops these policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else on the queue? No? All right. It is time for mayor and council reports and comments. Anybody wish to say anything tonight? Okay, I'll start off with you, Jerry, down in the corner.
Okay. So first off, I just want everybody in the community to understand that we're not having this discussion on House Bill 3115 to invite the homeless to Estacada. We're having this discussion on House Bill 3115 to put measures in place to help the existing citizens of Estacada who are going to be coming up against you know, the possibility of becoming homeless, and the existing people that are here. We're not doing it to invite more homeless from outside of Estacada. That is not our goal. So just make sure that you keep that in mind when we're having these discussions. We're not trying to find a place for all the homeless people of America. We're trying to figure out a way to help our own. So on a sadder note, I want to say thank you to Denise for all that you've done. I said this when Matt left. Those are some big shoes to fill. Well, that goes 10 times for you. You've been an amazing city manager. You've been an amazing community member, and will still be an amazing community member here in Estacada. But you've done more for this city than anybody can put on paper. So Sean said it earlier. We do love you. You are going to be missed, and there is no one else like you. And the next city manager will definitely have some very, very huge shoes to fill. But thank you, staff. Like Denise said, there's no higher praise than your boss saying, you know, you're an amazing staff. And I've always felt that way. You guys do an amazing job, and just want to say thank you, and thank you to all of you guys, counselors and everybody. There was some great discussion tonight, and I feel like we made some accomplishments. You know, we do have a ways to go, but we're going in the right direction. So thank you guys. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jerry. Katie, you're up next with that.
Jerry beat me to it. I just wanted to personally express my gratitude to Denise Carey for her years of service to the city of Estacada, and for the last 3+ years being a great mentor and ally for me and everybody on this council. I feel like I've learned so much from you in the last 3 years when it comes to city government, and it probably hasn't even touched the tip of the iceberg of how much you actually know about city government. So I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your years of service to this council, to the city, and personally, thank you for all of your help and your mentorship in the last couple of years. And I do wish you well in your retirement. Seriously, enjoy those grandbabies and enjoy the traveling. And congratulations to you and your family. And thank you again, Denise Carey, for everything you've done for Estacada.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah. Paul?
Well, I just want to say thanks to staff for putting together a great packet this evening and great conversation and discussion with the fellow counselors. Thank you for that. Denise, that was a fantastic final city manager report that you did. You nailed it there. I haven't worked with you that long. I haven't had the opportunity to, but man, for the short amount of time that I have, I've loved working with you and will miss you greatly.
Same thing. Same back at you.
Charity?
So again, I think tonight's more of a well-wishing and farewell to Denise as far as city council meetings are concerned. I know she's got a few more days left, but I'm sad that I haven't had the opportunity to work with you longer. And this has just been a brief time working with you, and you presented everything so efficiently, and everything, the way you communicate is so clear. I just wish you all the best in this new season of life. I'm so excited for you. I think retirement is awesome. And also tell your husband that we appreciate him as well. And I know you both are huge pillars in the community, both you and him. And those are going to be big shoes to fill. But I think, you seem really excited, and that makes me excited. So I just thank you so much for all your years that you've served in the community. And it's a thankless job a lot of times and comes with a lot of, criticism and hardship. And I appreciate you just seeing it through and sticking with us. So good luck in everything. And
thank you.
See you around town.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Justin?
Yeah, sorry, I've had my daughter all night, so she's kind of been bouncing around. But I wanted to, yeah, she's like all excited. She keeps calling you cousin for some reason. But I wanted to thank you too, and I'll tell you, I'm gonna miss our chats. I know I call you quite a bit throughout the week, just with questions and concerns and trying to figure things out, and you will be very missed, and you're probably still gonna get those calls. So even if you change your number, I know where you live, I will track you down and get the new one. So don't think I won't. All right, you can say one word. Say one word. Say hello to Denise.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
I expect the calls.
You will. All right. Love you. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you. Joel?
You said something. High five.
Justin, you're still muted.
Oh, dang it. Sorry. She did. She clicked it. Sorry.
My daughter likes the camera too. Yes, Denise, I know that I've been probably a thorn a little bit of the times over the last year, but it's all with the best intent to try to get the voice of the people that are in my ear across, which is quite a few, and try to get it across. And I asked a lot of hard questions sometimes, and ask a lot, and I appreciate your willingness to jump on those, whether the council agrees on them or not. You're still willing to always jump on them, and so I appreciate that. And I know, yes, it's a job, but at the same time, it still takes a lot out of you to do the job. And as Katie mentioned earlier, all the counselors are volunteers. We're not paid to do this. So to everybody, it's, no matter what comes out, no matter how much we disagree with each other, or how much, things come across, or we don't have the same opinions on something or whatever, we're, you know, all of the counselors and all of the mayor and everything, we're all unpaid volunteer positions here, trying to do our best to represent the people that we were elected to represent. And you know, and sometimes it's you know, it's a battle to get to that place, but I think you know, the more we spend time together, the more we learn to work out and to discuss and try to make sure we're taking in the opportunity to see all the views. I think the better we'll come to more you know, conclusions and moderate agreements. And Denise, you've been a big piece in that to try to find and guide us into some sort of what's what I'm looking for. Good golly, my language is not working today. It's like that piece of my head is broken. Some middle ground, basically. You've been doing your best to try to guide us there. And
Consensus.
Thank you, Jerry. Wow, I need like a dictionary in front of me today. My brain is tired. But you've done such a good job in doing that. You, Melanie, everybody has done the best job they can to try to wrangle the wild counselors into some sort of agreements. And while I know that's not always an easy thing to do, and so we appreciate you. We hope you have a good retirement, a long retirement, and you get to, you know, spend a lot of time with the grandbabies and stuff. So I know that's one of your joys. So
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And from me, Denise, I go back to the young counselor just coming on years ago, not knowing much about too much of anything, but trying to wing it. And a city recorder who stepped up and helped me get through it, helped me learn what I needed to, taught me everything I needed to know, gave me the information to succeed. And here we are years and years later. And I think, you know, a lot of what made me a better man was you. So I thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you for that.
And good luck to all of you.
Yeah. So we will see you at the next meeting and have a happy retirement, my dear. Adjourned.